Hey guys, what's happening? Oh, this is March 2. Check on 310. One of these I think has my queen in it, my good queen. So let's get in here and see. Let's see what's going on in this box here. See if we got a failure or whatever in that thing. Got a hold of Sebastian. I've got to pick up queen cells on Friday, this Friday. And Thursday I want to make up some nucs. I want to fill all those little 2-framers. I've got 7 of them ready to go right now. I'm putting the final paint job on them today and getting the wire in the floor. I'll show you that here in a little bit. But we'll fill those up, and whatever I don't fill up, we will use some 5-framers. Let's go into this colony here. Go into this one here and see what we got cooking. A lot of bees in it. I put one hole. I'm putting only one hole in these nucs. They seem to be sucking it up just fine. The queen's in here. I want to take her back. I want to take her back to base camp, and we will graft from her, because this is an excellent queen. This, if she's in here, she should be in either one of these. She wintered. She's the only hive that wintered with a lot of extra food source in there, a lot of extra honey in there. The rest of them were completely dry. Temperament on her wasn't bad, and her egg laying pattern was absolutely fantastic. So let's see if baby girl is in here. See, here's a frame here that's still got lots of food. I see no. There is a cell right there. So we got a virgin running around in here. I'm not going to fool with this anymore. I don't want to go any further in here with that virgin running around. So I'm going to lid this back up. We'll come back on 310 and check this. Don't need to hunt in there no more. We have a queen that has hatched, so hopefully she'll get back from her mating flight. Let's go into this colony here. Maybe we got a laying queen over here. If we do, oh, it's packed with bees. It's packed with bees, and they've sucked all the syrup out of there. So probably our good queen is over here. Like I say, if she's in here, we're going to load this up, take her back to base camp. And this is one I'll consider being a breeder queen. Okay, there's no queen in this hive either. So maybe she's still back at that original colony, or we've lost her. So I would say there's a virgin running around in here also. Okay, I need to look no further here. You get to fooling around with these virgin queens. They're really nervous, these bees. They're runny, they're nervous. Put this box back together. And we'll check it out on 310. Hive beetles running around in here. There's probably some in that trap. Some drawn comb in here. Some good looking drawn comb. This hive may have collapsed. Hive collapsed or got robbed out, one or the other. Okay, this is going back to base camp. I think this colony's dead. It happens a lot, guys. Welcome to modern beekeeping. Hopefully you can catch a die out in time to where your equipment doesn't get destroyed. Last time I was here was on 210. I see some bees way down low. There's a pollen frame. Very spotty brood. See if I can spy a queen in here. There's a few eggs. It looks like a failing queen to me, or a queen that's just starting up. Okay, I'm finding some dead brood here, but it's not real ropey. If you got European foul brood, when you stick a toothpick in it, it'll come out real stringy. These here, I think, are just rotting and got chilled out. This colony went down. There was a few eggs in here. But I'm seeing no queen. Frames we can salvage to make up more nucs. Nice frame of pollen. Look in here and see if I can find a queen. And I do see a queen. I don't see her now. Where did you go, girl? She was a good-sized queen. See, they didn't like that. I got 3 vented holes in here with 8 screen on it. And they didn't like that. They'll adjust the amount of ventilation. They completely plugged that one up. Completely. That was the back end of the hive. Somewhere in here, I just seen her. She's a good sized queen, but I don't know. She's probably last year's queen. And I'm thinking she's failing because the amount of eggs she's putting out is not much. Not much at all. But I'm gonna reassemble this box. I'm just gonna give her a few frames and see how she goes here. We'll just keep an eye on it. Let's put this pollen frame back in. Pretty clean frame there. Take those back and melt them down. I'm not too impressed with that, guys. But these 2 hives here, we won't know what we got until on 310. So we'll come back, recheck them on 310. I'm going to take this stuff back to base camp and salvage it. See you in a bit. Okay guys, we're back at base camp, and I got those frames and stuff. There was a little bit of surplus food in them frames, and I put them on the back of my truck. Let the bees in the yard here, they're hammering them right now. There's just hardly nothing coming in out there. Okay, we got our brand new 2-framer nucs, and I've only drilled a 1/2-inch hole in here, but as I painted, you get a lot of stuff in. So what are you going to do? You're going to put a fat rat in there. So put your fat rat in there and kind of just clean it out, you know. And I got the paddle blade went in there. You can see it cut a little trough there. So we got to put a screen in the bottom for got extra ventilation. So I'm just going to stick this 1/8 cloth up here. That's that trick. Now I made these little jobbies here for the front end, and I got it wide so the bees don't get chopped up on these wires coming in here, but it also gives us the ability to shut this off when I'm out in the field. Say if I'm in the yard here and I want to just keep the bees in here, I can just shut that flap, which is going to be happening because I can't rob nothing from them other hives over there at that other yard. So all the bees that I rob to fill these is going to come from this yard. So all you really need is about 4 staples. About 4 staples, that's it. Now you got a little door you can shut here. I may put a little push pin. I can see that's trying to pop up on me. Actually, what I'll do is bend it back the other way. This next one I staple. See, I'll just bend it back slightly. That way I've got a little pressure on that. I can just put a little tack pin right there to hold it and leave them trapped for 3 days. On the 3rd day after I put my cell in, I'll open this up and I'll let them fly. So I've got these ready to go. I'll get these screens in here. I got to swing into Sebastian's on Friday and pick up at 8 a.m. and I was wanting to get him Saturday, and he said no, these things will be hatching on about right around 9 o'clock, close to it, right on Saturday. So he said you've got to pick them up Friday. So that's what I'll do. I'll pick them up Friday, and I'll throw in, we'll put a frame of bees and brood in here, and another, we'll salvage one of those drawn out ones, and I'll rub some pollen into those cells to give these bees something pollen too. And we're going to put a feeder jar on them, and you'll notice I bored the hole dead center, and the other hole over there is off center. There shouldn't be any drippage because I'm using the quart jars. You've seen that, using the quart jars with 1 hole. So that's all they'll have, is 1 hole to feed on. And we'll mark these up, and I will not fool these bees for 30 days. Let these girls go ahead and do their thing, and hopefully I'm going to also spot, I've got different color spray paints here. I will spot the spray paint different colors. I've got white, I've got all different colors, and we'll do that. And we'll mix them up. When you're in the field, if you got just plain pallets, you can get free pallets. And that works pretty good. Throw a pallet down and put 4 of these nucs on a pallet, 1 in each direction of the compass. Do that, looking out. That works good too. I did that a lot back in the early days. I just had a ton of pallets, free pallets, and I throw them on the truck. I had a forklift. I could snatch that off of there and just sling those pallets all over the place, and then take all my nucs. I was running, in the early days, I was running about 100 3-framers, and I was running 100 5-framers to support my 250 colony honey operation, sideline honey operation. So whenever I move bees 4 times a year. I start over on the hump, on the ridge they call it, which is oranges. It's just about all, it's blown out with people now. Oranges are about gone, but there's still some oranges in Florida. The guys are working them. And I would stay over there for a month, get that orange, and I'd haul butt up to Gulf Hammock. I'd stay in Gulf Hammock until September. And that way I'd get the palmetto, gallberry, and cabbage palm. I'd hit 3 crops there. And if it was good, some years were great. I could make just about 100 pounds of honey per move, per hive, because I was running 10 framers with 4 shallows on it, Each hive had 4 shallows. So I always had to, I'd leave a partial on it before the move. I'd go in, harvest my honey, go back, extract it. They'd be at the honey house. I would come back, I'd leave a partial. I'd try to fill out all 3 of those boxes that I would harvest, and I'd leave a partial on there, or maybe a full one, whatever I could do. But I always left, I moved those bees all the time with 1 super on them. I never stripped them down to a single brood. It's just the way I did it. I was in fear of them not having enough, because by the time each one of these flows was over, those boxes were boiling over with bees. So then what I would do is come back, we'd make the move. I had a buddy, we'd haul our nucs down. We would set the bees out. They were on 4-way clip pallets, so we moved them with a forklift, load them out, take to the new location. As soon as we set them down, we dove into them hives and started filling. We'd steal 3 frames. We'd steal 3 frames from every hive. So the 3 framers I had, you had to fill them up. The 5 framers, I'd put in 3 plus 2 plain. Bait them, come back 30 days. My rotation was every 30 days because I was constantly building more equipment. But I would only look at these bees every 30 days. So we had a date here, we'd come back, and I would run right about 80% success story back in them days in the 80s, late 70s and 80s. And of course, we didn't have the problems we have today with all these pests. African hive beetle was not here, varroa mites was not here, and all that. So that's what I would do. I'd go Gulf Hammock, leave there. I'd go down to Northport and Port Charlotte, south here in Florida, and we'd get in the Brazilian pepper. That was always a fantastic crop. I had a hurricane one time come in and put my colonies. Oh man, the water came all the way up. I had excluders on all of my hives, my 10-frame hives, and then the 4 supers up. The water came all the way up within 1 inch of that. Some of my equipment was kind of raggedy. It had holes and stuff here and there, and that was my savior. The queen was running around just below this excluder and 1 inch from the water. I never lost a hive. It was unbelievable. I went in there with my forklift and I started stabbing them. The ground, luckily, was hard enough to where I could go through that water and just blindly stab those pallets and pick them up and set them on top of other pallets. I came back in 1 month, and them bees had cleaned out all the dead, nasty mess that was in there, because they were underwater. They had to be underwater for 4 or 5 days at least. So you had all that dead brood and stuff. They had cleaned out all that mess and got out of there and reestablished that nest. It was unbelievable. These bees can do some wild and crazy things, guys. So that's a little story there. Oh yeah, after pepper, I went all the way to Naples, Florida. All the way to Naples, and we got in the punk forest. And I made 100 pounds of honey in the punk. We'd make 100 pounds of honey per hive on Brazilian pepper. That's why I love it so much. State of Florida hates it, but us beekeepers love it here. And then the punk, which is from Australia. They call it the paper tree in Australia. Well, down south is full of it. And I understand developers way back in the early days aerial seeded that stuff. I don't know if that's a true story. It's just what I heard. They aerial seeded it way back in the early days to suck up the water out of that Everglades. So they've created quite a little monster there, but again, the beekeepers loved it. And a lot of people winter bees here in Florida from all over. From up north, all these a lot of pollinators that come to Florida, and they go down to Northport area, down in there, Pine Island, and get on that. I haven't been down there in years. It's been 20, 30 years since I've been down there, so I don't know what the situation is. All I can tell you is there are a lot of beekeepers go down there in winter here and build up their bees for in the spring to take off and to go to California and pollinate, start pollination of almonds out there and whatnot. And then a lot of fellas, one fella I know here, he does that pollination in California, comes back, he goes all the way to Maine and Massachusetts for blueberries and cranberries. And then of course he's back here wintering like I was doing. Well, I was doing that year round, but he would come back here, and his home base is over here about 2 hours to my east. And he was a super great guy. I loved working with him, and he did all my extraction. When I started up a second time in the bee business, he did all my extraction for me. So that worked out super good. And I paid him, I forget what the fee was, I think it was 15 cents a pound or something to extract. And he would give me a fair price for my wax, and then he would also sell me my honey for me. He would sell that because he was hooked up with a packer, and that's how I worked that whole deal. But now I'm just playing hobby action, trying to sell a few nucs. So that's what we're doing. And there's your box. These things you're going to have to keep an eye on, guys, because they will blow this thing up after 30 days. If this queen's worth anything, worth her salt, she's going to blow this stuff up in here. You're going to have to get it out of here and into a 5-framer. And you're saying, Steve, why don't you just build 5s? I've got some 5s. And there's a lot of guys say, well, put a divider down and you got this and that. Well, that's all great too, but I've got existing stuff, and you obviously can't cut grooves through this and put a divider in there. And I'm not going to fool with that. This is a quick little way to go. I've glued these blocks together here. Your standard spruce 2x4 is 3.5 inches. So you would, if you want to, you can just get standard, nice, clean, clear spruce studs and create this end piece with that. The only thing you're going to have, though, was end grain sticking up, and I didn't know how that was going to go. That's the reason I went with this. So the grain is running this away. If you take a 2x4, the grain's going to be here. It's probably going to be just fine. There's probably not going to be any problem with doing that. So there's another option for you. You could use a 2x4 right here. Okay, quickie video, quickie playing around in the field. Thursday we'll throw some bees in these boxes, and Friday we'll come back and load the cells in these. We'll date them, come back in 30 days and see if everything is happy. And you guys stay happy, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.